Did you guys know that over 9 million barrels of oil is used every day by America alone? Hi, I'm Jalen. I'm here to tell you guys why nuclear energy is the best solution for our problem with energy is today. You can go to the next slide. Some of you guys might not know what nuclear energy is. Nuclear energy is a process of, well, the way they get nuclear energy is through a process called nuclear fission. This is where they divide an atom and use the energy from that atom that propels hydro steam engines, and that in turn produces power. As you can see right there, there's a little, they usually use uranium atoms. This does not require any fuel source as a startup, unlike other stuff like oil rigs that require energy to use. You can go to the next slide. So what's wrong with fossil fuels? There's a lot of things that you guys might know is wrong with fossil fuels. They destroy our ozone, they create a lot of emissions. As you can see right here, 80% of our energy currently in America comes from from fossil fuels, and only about 20% comes from natural resources like wind, and also as well, we do use about 5% nuclear energy right now. It's a finite source, so once we run out, there's not any more coming for a very long time, and we're using it at a very high rate, as I mentioned before, with 9 million barrels alone, just from us. There's a lot of military conflicts over oil alone. As you guys probably heard, in the Middle East, there's tons. Every day there's a new bombing or something over land that involves oil. And it destroys our environment, like I mentioned before, through many things. There's a nice little article by a Virginia local newspaper that newspaper that is called the National Resource of Virginia Council. What they decided was they went through a small town in West Virginia and Virginia area where they completely deforested the whole mountainside to start a coal mine, and how that affected the population over a course of 20 years, and how they saw a big decrease in deer. And this was a hunting town and a very small town that loved to go hunting, do all that, and they all had to be pushed into jobs in the coal mining. And when they shut down the coal mine, all these guys didn't have any jobs, didn't have any money, and they decided to show the effect of just how this process worked from about 1980 to about 2007. Oh, you can go to the next slide. Now, some benefits to nuclear energy. As it says right there, 8,000 times more efficient than fossil fuels. That means it's not saying that it creates 8,000 more units of energy. It means for how much waste it produces. For each gallon or cubic meter of waste of nuclear energy, there'd be 8,000 cubic meters of waste from fossil fuels and coal being produced from that same amount. It causes, so like, as it mentions, causes less emissions. You might see these nuclear plants depending where you go. There's some in North Carolina, and they're mostly in those type of areas, North Carolina, Virginia. You'll see that they do produce emissions, but it's a lot less smoke, and it produces a lot more energy for that same amount of time. It also gives you higher level jobs. In that same newspaper, they talked about how when, actually it was a different news program that was part of the same organization, which is the National Council for Resource Defense, National Council of Resource Defense, and they basically said that these jobs would pay anywhere from $65,000 to $85,000 at entry level. It does require college education, but only, I believe, 2 years to get started into this field. So it's a great alternative to people that are just getting out of the fields like truck driving and stuff like that. It would be a great transition for them. Also, as I said before, with the emissions, it also talks about how we're destroying our ozone layer. In about 25 years, we could see very massive destruction and mass deforestation. And if we keep doing this, not just to our ozone layer, but to the forest, like in Virginia alone, they said that, I believe about each year, about 5 miles of forest just completely taken out for coal mines, and eventually you're just going to run out of land. Next slide. Now, there are negatives. It's not a perfect solution. Right now, we don't have a really great way of disposing the waste of nuclear waste, but we don't have a great way of disposing fossil fuels waste either, so that's not necessarily a great deterrent to it. It isn't as, it isn't natural resources. Like, it's not wind, where that causes no harm to the environment, but it's the best solution we have right now, because wind, like I said, it was 8,000 more efficient than fossil fuels. That puts it like about 100 times more than that, so 800,000 times more efficient than wind power, and more readily available than wind power. like I said, we don't have any optimal solutions yet, but one article did talk about, it was the IOP, which is the Institute of Physics. They talked about how if we do start doing more nuclear research in America alone, Japan's already found some ways to dispose of it in a less harmful way to stop harming their oceans and the environment around it. So if we keep doing, like if it becomes more of a thing, like 50% of our energy comes from nuclear energy, then maybe we'll find better ways to dispose of it. And like I said, one of the downsides that people love to talk about is that fossil fuels are already established. Like we already know how to get those set up, and it's really cheap. It's about 3 times less expensive to start up a new oil rig or coal mine than to start up a new nuclear energy facility. But after you can create one nuclear energy facility, you do have to maintain it, but you don't have to keep rebuilding it like you do with oil rigs, where you have to keep moving and keep finding new oil. You can go to the next slide. So my call to action, there is a group called the Environmentalists for Nuclear Energy. They're online. They have about 205,000 signatures last time I looked at it, and it's pushing. It's like a petition to push our politicians to start enforcing laws to allow not just more nuclear energy to be used, like in specific areas like Nevada where there's not a lot of people around where it would be safe, but also to have more research into nuclear energy so we can have a more informed country based off what, and let us decide whether or not we want to use nuclear energy. Go to the last slide. In the future we could see, I have one source, it was a journal done by physicists. I believe his name was, it was John something, I'm sorry, I blinked on his name. But he said that our energy could be down 65%, like for electricity bills, could be down up to 65% if we just implemented nuclear energy 10% more into our environment, like into our natural use of energy. I'm not saying we need to go all nuclear and have cars running on nuclear energy, but that would be a first big step that we could take towards making just fixing this problem we have with fossil fuels being the main source of our energy. As well as that, I would also like to ask, have any of you guys been influenced or maybe been more informed based off this, understand more about what nuclear energy is, and then maybe you guys do want to sign the petition, or at least go look into it more yourself and decide whether or not this is something that you believe in. So, by a show of hands. Well, I'd like to thank you guys for your time. And that's it.
Good job.